What's up, Taiwan? I'm Joyce, coming to you from Taipei with the latest news. Taiwan's new defense minister is making the country's security a top priority. With no prior military experience, it remains to be seen how his proposals will be received. Jaime Oakland reports.
Traditional bayonet training will soon be a thing of the past for Taiwan's military. In his first report to the legislature, newly appointed Defense Minister Penghu said that the Army would scrap this outdated practice and instead focus on more realistic combat preparation.
逐一来检讨哪些部分，那我们用减法的方式来取消，那专注于这个人员装备训练这个部分的战训。
Taiwan's military is currently trying to modernize its armed forces and equipment. Faced with the threat of invasion by China, Taiwan has extended mandatory military service, developed state-of-the-art missiles for coastal defense, and continues to invest millions into advanced systems like U.S. F-16 fighter jets. On Thursday, the U.S., Taiwan's largest weapons supplier, approved $300 million worth of maintenance equipment for the F-16s, specifically Taiwan's most advanced variant of that aircraft, the Block 70.
或许之中它有一些零附料件是可以互通的，但是它也有相当多的这个零件是专属 F-16 Block 70的。那为了要准备接收 F-16 Block 70战机的话，我们也必须要先在国内进行 F-16 Block 70战机的一些消耗性零附料件的这样一个储备。
Only a few weeks into the job, Penghu is already aiming to make sure Taiwan's troops are combat ready at all times. But he may need to prove himself for this new role. Unlike most of Taiwan's previous defense ministers, who are usually retired generals, Penghu has no previous military experience. But given his last role as head of the National Security Council, Penghu is familiar with Taiwan's defense needs. And his civilian background could be a benefit as well, helping pave the way for more transparency and communication in the military.
Hopefully, now that there is someone who is a civilian and no military experience, those types of things will come about. That's my wish list. I don't know if that will happen, but it is refreshing to get back to true civilian control of the military or leadership in the MND.
With more U.S. weapons on the way and more military exercises planned, Penghu is hitting the ground running. But how he'll balance his relationship with the military while still ensuring its modernization might be a tougher task. Chris Ma and Jaime Oakland for TaiwanPlus.
How to improve the country's maritime safety has been the focus of discussion in Taipei at a special conference organized by the country's Ocean Affairs Council. Security experts from around the world are at the event to give their insights. We go back now to Jaime Oakland for more.
Maritime security and protection of sea lanes is one of the most important areas for Taiwan's defense, as it is an island nation. That's why Taiwan's Ocean Affairs Council has organized a group of naval security experts from almost a dozen countries. But this conference comes just 2 weeks after China conducted large-scale exercises in response to the inauguration speech of newly elected President Lai Ching-te. The exercise saw China's Navy surround Taiwan with military ships and focus on operations near the main island. But at the same time, China utilized its Coast Guard to harass and put pressure on Taiwan's outlying islands. Analysts say it's these kinds of gray zone tactics that are posing a new challenge to Taiwan, as it now has to deal with a variety of threats.
China's numerical advantages are more severe because it can put so much force on the scene. And eventually Taiwan is going to have to make some difficult choices. It can't be everywhere all at once. So the Taiwanese government will have to decide where does it really need to hold the line and push back, and where does it need to adapt.
Experts here say that Taiwan should be playing a more active role in areas like intelligence sharing and communication. But the message here is that Taiwan isn't alone in maintaining security in the Taiwan Strait, and that can rely on other like-minded partners in the region. Alex Chen and Jaime Oakland in Taipei for TaiwanPlus.
Taiwan is warning its citizens to be cautious when traveling to China. That's after a member of a Taiwanese tour group was detained, the first time that's happened. The person was held for several days and wasn't released until days after the rest of the tour group returned to Taiwan. The reason is still being investigated. The government says the risk of being detained has increased since China expanded laws on national security and against spying. A controversial reform bill that triggered fistfights among lawmakers and huge protests on the streets is being sent back to the legislature. The cabinet wants the bill to be reviewed, saying it is unconstitutional. After dramatic fights between Taiwan's lawmakers to pass an opposition-led legislative reform bill, the country's executive branch is sending it back.
比对之后，我们再一次的确认，条文的内容有违宪，也有窒碍难行之处，所以我们依宪政的秩序跟设计，提出复议。
Taiwan's premier is calling on the legislature to reconsider recently passed amendments, which opposition party lawmakers say aim to improve government oversight. The cabinet has called some clauses unconstitutional and is now waiting for President Lai Ching-te's approval for their motion.
总统收到了行政院的复议理由书之后，将会审慎评估，再做出妥适的决定。
Just a day after Lai's inauguration on May 20th, tensions rose between lawmakers over measures that would give the legislature new investigative powers, like the right to hold hearings and punish officials who don't comply. The ruling Democratic Progressive Party accused the opposition Kuomintang and Taiwan People's Party for using their combined majority to force the bill's passage without the usual clause-by-clause discussion. Viewing the reforms as harmful to Taiwan's freedom and democracy, tens of thousands of people protested outside the legislature and around the country. In a movement dubbed Bluebird, named after the street outside the legislative building. If forced to review, the legislature must re-vote within 15 days. The Kuomintang's caucus whip warned the premier to think twice about the move.
如果复议不成功，请问卓荣泰院长，你愿意负政治责任辞职下台吗？请不要把这个当儿戏。
Meanwhile, DPP lawmakers have said they would challenge the bill at the Constitutional Court, a last resort to override the changes to the law. Depending on what President Lai decides, this legislative floor could be seeing more dramatic brawls break out over these measures to expand legislative power. Now, Lai cannot directly veto these bills since the president does not have such power here in Taiwan. But what could happen is that if the cabinet's request goes through and if the legislature fails to hold a vote within 15 days, this contested bill could be blocked without having to go through court. Patrick Chen and Joyce in Taipei for TaiwanPlus. Taiwan's trade numbers dropped sharply in May. The finance ministry says export value last month plunged 14.1% compared to the year before, hitting $36.1 billion US. At the same time, imports dropped 21.7% from May 2023, hitting $31.2 billion. Both numbers are still up from April. The ministry says there's a growing demand for AI products, but the international appetite for most manufactured goods is still relatively weak. Record rent and produce prices are driving up Taiwan's consumer price index. The index, which measures the average price of consumer goods, grew 2.24% in May, up over 0.2% compared to the same period last year, and surpassing the 2% inflation warning mark. Officials say unstable weather is driving up produce prices. Rent increases also hit a 28-year high in May, going up by 2.6% year on year. It's World Food Safety Day, but Taiwan does not have much to celebrate. As the country reels from a deadly food poisoning scandal, researchers have announced that the average Taiwanese person has high levels of plasticizers in their body. John Van Trieste reports on Taiwan's food safety challenges.
When it comes to eating out, Taiwan is a plastic country. From plastic takeaway bags to plastic cutting boards and cutlery, plastics are an inescapable part of dining. And researchers say this has led to a problem: unusually high levels of plasticizer building up inside people's bodies. Research links plasticizers with a range of health problems, from cancer and fertility issues to congenital disorders. And a new study by Taipei Medical University and the National Health Research Institutes compares Taiwanese people to those in several other countries. They found people in Taiwan have 2 to 7 times as much plasticizer in them as people in Europe and the United States. This has researchers concerned.
从我们的脑部到我们的这个甲状腺，或者是女性的卵巢、男性的睾丸，其实都会受到影响。
我们担心的是一些长期暴露呢，可能导致一些儿童的发育上面的一些问题。
The timing of this announcement, just before World Food Safety Day, puts a fresh spotlight on Taiwan's food safety woes. Taiwan has a history of food safety scandals. In March alone, Taiwan saw reports of a toxic dye used in chili powder, followed at the end of the month by a mass poisoning at a Taipei restaurant, which just this week claimed a 5th life after a long battle in hospital. And these scandals go back years. Memories of a tainted cooking oil scandal a decade ago, for instance, are still strong. On the streets of Taipei, it's clear food safety is on people's minds, both among shoppers and vendors.
其实我觉得是有进步了啦，但是大部分的人还是比较没有这方面的概念。而且台湾还有一个很特别的现象，就是时间一过咯，就会忘记了啊，什么地沟油啦，什么塑化剂啦，就是时间一过了，然后那个新闻一被洗过去之后啊，大家好像就忘记了。
你政府这样一直宣导没有用啊，要你自己店家。 本身自己去做才有用啊！以前我妈妈在做的时候都是用那种塑胶的，那我接手以后就把它换掉了，因为那种东西对身体不好吧。
And while some individuals are making changes away from plastic, it's still a minority of cases here. With everyone from people on the street to medical professionals concerned, it looks like Taiwan has a lot of work to do, both to make sure that the food that's on sale meets standards and to convince the public that the food they eat is safe. Leon Lien and John Van Trieste in Taipei for TaiwanPlus.
A beached pilot whale calf has died after being rescued in southern Taiwan. Rescue teams say the calf was the same one spotted in the area a week ago. They found the calf in weak condition and sent it to a whale rescue center, but it died just 1 day later. After conducting blood tests, veterinarians determined that the calf died from high stress and inflammation.
那个抽血报告就是它的紧迫指数非常高，紧迫指数高有时候会让它整个免疫系统下降，甚至就是紧迫太高会瞬间死亡。
Taiwanese pitcher Lin Wei-en is heading to the big leagues in the U.S. He signed a $1.3 million contract with the Oakland Athletics in California. Lin is one of only 9 Taiwanese players to sign an MLB contract worth more than $1 million. The 18-year-old athlete recently graduated from high school in northern Taiwan and has decided to give back to his community by donating a portion of his earnings to the schools he attended in Taoyuan. Old military tunnels on one of Taiwan's outlying islands are being renovated to bring a little artistic flair to the darkness. Jeremy Olivier reports.
Breathing new life into long-abandoned tunnels. This subterranean military base on Taiwan's Penghu Islands is experiencing a renaissance. Repurposed and decorated with various forms of art, this 120-meter-long tunnel was once used by Taiwan's Air Force as a combat readiness facility.
这个地方就是战时储存区，那在里面一点呢，就是那个战情室，空军呢就把营舍搬到外面了，里面只是储放弹药跟空防炮使用。
Due to its strategic position in the Taiwan Strait, the Penghu archipelago still has a heavy military presence. But this disused facility is going to give visitors a look into another side of the island chain's culture, its local art scene.
石雕哦，有迄个陶瓷，哦，还有摄影，从真侪迄个花火节迄个摄影展的优秀的相片，阮家嘛陈列伫内面。
Subsidized by the central government, renovations of the old military base cost around $250,000 and will add a new artistic landmark to Penghu. Andy Xue, Reese Ayers, and Jeremy Olivier for TaiwanPlus.
Thank you for watching What's Up Taiwan. You can visit the TaiwanPlus website or follow our social media for more of our stories. Finally, take a look at the Berlin Air Show, which brings together around 600 exhibitors showcasing the latest in aviation technology. I'm Joyce, take care and see you next time.